Hey everybody, Tony Johnson here, your customer experience leader. Thank you so much for tuning in today to our live at 1 o'clock sessions on really our new normal, how we're going to go to market with regard to customer service, guest experience, and all the things that we want to do post-coronavirus. So, again, I know many of you are working at home. I know that many of you are going through a lot of trials and tribulations. I know life's tough out there, especially for a lot of small businesses. So that's why I'm trying to give back a little bit. I know we're all trying to do everything we can, and many of us are doing so remotely. And that's the point of really this daily telecast, just to give you a little shot in the arm, a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of free information to help you go to market and really move the needle on your guest and customer experiences. So, that said, we're going to be here every day, 1 o'clock live. So again, never know if, what's going to go wrong on any kind of live telecast, but we are indeed 100% live here. So, today, I want to start off by first of all thanking our most amazing first responders. I think it's a great way for us to begin every day with a little bit of gratitude, and that's a great way too to take the focus off of any bad feelings you might be feeling, any parts of your day that you might not be digging, anything that's bumming you out. I think when you turn the focus outward and focus on gratitude, it is a really great way to center yourself up. So, I was out yesterday. I needed to go buy a few things. I needed some gas for the lawnmower and some essential items, and I have to tell you, the retail heroes, the folks who were out there on the front line ringing people up. I was at a home improvement store. I was at a gas station. I had to run by the grocery store. Thank you for all of that. And then, of course, the amazing first responders. Every day when I watch the morning news and I see these heroic efforts that nurses and doctors and folks out there in the healthcare industry are putting out there, thank you. I know how difficult it is. And this is not just the folks who are quote unquote healing in those hospitals. Think about all the support staff that has to come together to make that happen. Think about the people who transport patients. Think about the people who are making sure that the food gets to them. Think about the people more than ever who clean up around a hospital, who keep things sanitary and sanitized and clean and spotless. I mean, they are also sort of invisible heroes if you really think about it. Because if you ever stayed at a hospital or a hotel or someplace like that, often the cleaning stuff happens when you're not around. When I would stay at a Disney resort or someplace like that, or in a hotel when I'm off doing speaking and consulting on the road, hopefully we'll be able to pick some of those back up again. But, you leave for the day, you come back and your room's clean. In the hospital, maybe you go out for a test, or even you show up, in the hospital and get admitted, and the room's already clean and sanitized. So you never sometimes see these heroes who get that kind of stuff done. So first and foremost, thank you to everybody out there who are doing those jobs, because there's a lot of support functions out there we need to keep everything rolling forward, and some of those people can't stay home. So thank you for that. Now let's jump in. So this morning, I think like everybody, we're all thinking about ways to tighten our belt a little bit. A lot of folks are going through that. I've had a lot of my friends and colleagues reach out. Some people have been furloughed. Some people's businesses are off. I'm not traveling as much as I was, so, or really not at all. So, everyone's thinking about ways to tighten the old belt. And so, today I had a conversation with my pool guy, and I'm lucky enough to live in Florida, lucky enough to have a pool. It's the one source of of recreation that there is around the house when you're socially distancing like this. And you know what? I'm going to start doing my own pool for a hot second, and so, that was a conversation that I had with my pool guy, and he was great thinking about really one of the most important things when it comes to this sort of new normal business is how do you satisfy a guest, a customer? How do you make them want to continue to be your customer maybe when they can afford to resume your services, but also stay connected to them? And so he found a way to kind of push back, scale back what we're going to do together. And so it still keeps him working. I can save a little bit of money, and honestly, I don't have to fuss around with being a chemical engineer to figure out what goes in the pool. But he found a way to sort of take a pay cut, but also partner with me on the best way to stay connected in our business relationship. And I thought that was really savvy, and I really appreciated that. And you can bet the second that everything starts to go back to normal, I can't wait to bring this guy back on full time, mostly because of the way he worked with me during these sort of lean times. So I appreciated that. So I've got 3 things to talk about with you today, and some of it's going to involve some homework, so think about that. The first is, where are you in your current state? Where are you seating? Are you thinking about ramp up? Are you closed for right now? Are your operations scaled back? So, there's a difference between maybe a retail clothier out there who's completely closed. I know like my local Joseph A. Bank, they haven't been open for a minute. They're completely closed during this. You can order online, but you can't really go pick anything up or anything like that. So they are really, from a brick and mortar perspective, closed. But then there are other places like restaurants and local places like that where you can put in an order. For example, I put in an order at a place called Born and Bred for this weekend. I'm going to go pick up that food. But there was a very prescriptive methodology about how they were doing business with folks. And I appreciated that because they're trying to keep people safe, but at the same time, they're thinking about still staying open for business and generating some revenue. So you need to think about where you are in your current state. What can you continue to do, and how can you stay connected to your customers? Number two, what are your biggest concerns right now? Now, I know the easy one, right? The elephant in the room is revenue. Maybe you aren't generating the revenue at the rate that you really want to be, and the rate that you frankly look forward to doing again very soon. So that could be a key concern. But push that one aside for a second, because that is the elephant in the room. What are the other concerns? Are you worried about your team all coming back? Are you worried about getting those customers back in the door once you reopen? Are you worried about how you scale and ramp up so that when you open on day one, you're ready to rock and roll? All of those things are legitimate concerns. And by the way, feel free to shoot me an email at tony@igniteyourservice.com if there's any way that we can work together on that, because there are some strategies that we can bring into place with new styles of team training, with thinking about your brand and how you can accelerate your opening in a way that's really going to drive great results right from the first days. But you got to start now. We got to start thinking about it now. And then number three, control what you can control. That's a big tip that I know you probably heard that from a few folks, but I want you to really think about what's controllable and what's not controllable. And again, there's a lot out there in the world right now that you can't touch. There's a lot out there that you can't control, and that is a time that is very scary for all of us, frankly. And again, I was talking to some friends and colleagues who again have been furloughed or laid off. Those things are outside of our control, but what we can control is how we react to it, what we do with that time we've been granted, and how we think about what's next. So that's going to be my charge to you, is start thinking about what's next. Don't get too hung up on the stuff you can't control, because you're going to go crazy if you don't. Whatever it is, whether you finally clean out that spare bedroom you've always been wanting to do, whether you plussed up your resume, whether you looked at your business plan, whatever it is that you've always wanted to do, really take that time to do it, because if you worry and fret about all the stuff you can't touch, you're absolutely going to drive yourself crazy. And think too, as we talk about skills development, on the other channel I was doing about working from home not too long ago, I mentioned one of my favorite books. And again, I think it's worth repeating. It's called The Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger, who was the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. He's still the chairman of the board. And I think a fantastic example of leadership. And so there's some really cool pieces in there, but the two that always keep me coming back, that keep me thinking, are this idea of optimism. So why would you not want to be optimistic? Now, I'm not talking about crazy optimistic. I'm not talking about optimistic in the face of all evidence that you shouldn't be. I'm talking about cautious, reasonable optimism that can inspire your team and think about what's next and how you can win together. And the other thing he talks a lot about is the power of the sense of humor. I love the fact that we don't, we have a leader in Bob Iger who values that, who values a sense of humor. Because let's face it, life's too short, life's too scary, some days life's too hard to not think about things with a great sense of humor. And again, you can't be, Lucky the Clown, right, inside of your meetings. But you know what? To occasionally lighten the mood, to use humor in the right way. I have seen some great leaders out there. Governor Cuomo does a pretty good job with it. I've seen Bob Iger do it. I think that there are some really neat leaders out there who really do know exactly when to put in a zinger or just a little lighthearted comment that brings people back and realizes, you know what, we can all be connected by the power of laughter and the power of a smile. So that said, a little shameless plug. If you could take a moment, visit my website, igniteyourservice.com, or even go to igniteyourservice.com/training. You can also check out my social media channels. Twitter is Service Recipe, and on Instagram at Recipe for Service. And you are currently viewing me at Tony Johnson CX on Facebook Live right now, which is fantastic. I appreciate you all tuning in. So that said, that's going to do it for today's episode. But please take stock of where you are and what's going to be next. We will get together tomorrow, promptly at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another fantastic conversation. I'm Tony Johnson, your customer experience leader. Be sure to like and share and subscribe so you never miss a video. Talk to you soon.